Hi, everyone. It's Candace Craw-Goldman from quantumhealers.com. And today I'm going to bring you a very short video, but I think an interesting one for you about the mind-body connection in terms of the use of hypnosis. So this video was inspired by something that I heard on a podcast by a doctor named Dr. Peter McCullough. And if you have been following the health freedom movement in any way, shape, or form these last 4 very important years, then you know exactly who I am talking about. So let's start with listening to this little clip. It's only about 2 minutes long, but listen to this clip from Dr. Peter McCullough.
And yet all the population did. We were in the minority, Peter. We were in the vast.
It's true.
You know,
Malcolm, let me ask you something. Are you somebody who can be hypnotized?
well, gee, I don't know. I've never really tried. Why?
When I was in medical school, probably
Oh,
one of the most memorable things in, I think, the first or second year is we had a demonstration of hypnosis. Have you ever seen it live? Like really
no,
hypnosis?
no.
Yeah. So they sent out some type of survey and they were
Huh.
able to figure out which students could be hypnotized and which ones couldn't.
Wow.
So I was screened out. There was no way I could be hypnotized. They didn't even waste their time. But they did find some
Hmm.
students. It was amazing. And they actually hypnotized them on stage and we saw it.
Yeah.
And it was
Hmm.
very real. These are people that I knew.
Yeah.
And they were demonstrating the mind body connection.
Yeah.
And let me
Yeah.
tell you what, yeah, they bring people back to their childhood, and I'm sure you've seen demonstrations of this. But let me tell you this: this is what kind of blew my mind about hypnosis and the
Hmm.
mind-body connection. Is one of my friends,
Hmm.
they had brought him back to an age when he was a small child, and
Wow.
and apparently he had a very dominating father who smoked cigarettes, and the father was angry
Hmm.
and they pretended as if the father was putting out a cigarette on this kid's arm.
Oh my God.
And so I think they just took a pencil and they touched his arm and he's
Hmm.
going, and he's screaming, screaming, screaming.
Hmm.
And then when he lifted it off, there was a blister there,
Oh
like
my
it had been
God.
burned with a real
Wow.
cigarette, but there was no
Wow.
cigarette. Malcolm, I flipped out. I
Wow.
said, this is legit. This
Hmm.
mind body connection is real.
Hmm.
If the brain thinks the skin is burned, it will raise up like a blister, like a burn. It was
Well, there
really
is the
something
power of
else.
the mind, Peter.
So I found that a very, very interesting. Dr. McCullough is an extremely smart person. He's a very well read. He has written and published so many studies, I think more than any other cardiologist. He's also an epidemiologist. He's also been, in the hot seat since the time of COVID. Anyway, I find him a very interesting fellow. But I'd never heard him talk about hypnosis at all. And this was just a side note in another interview he was having with someone named Malcolm. But I wanted to play you that clip because I thought it was fascinating. A couple of the things that I wanted to point out about the clip was, first of all, this was just in his second year of medical school, but listen, if you want to play it back, listen to how he said it was one of the most fascinating things that he experienced in medical school whatsoever. And he said he flipped out, I think is what he said. And I wish somebody like that might look into this a little bit more. And you never know, it may have affected him. I mean, it was great that he even picked up on it and started to talk about it. The effects of hypnosis are very, very real, and they can manifest in very real changes in your body. Now, those changes can be transient, they can be long lasting, they can absolutely bring you fantastic changes and resolutions of big challenges in your body. We have seen it time and time again. And very often, BQH and other quantum hypnosis sessions provide evidence of very real, very physical effects, sometimes right there in the session. The first time I'd ever heard of this was sitting in Dolores Cannon's class all those years ago in 2008. And she actually used the very same story over and over again the whole time that I knew her. But she would talk about the fact that she had a client one day, and this client was hung in a past life. She was absolutely hung in a past life. to her death, and this death brought a lot of trauma, and the trauma came forward into her life. But when the woman sat up from hypnosis, she actually had a very real, very angry red burn around her throat. Now, this was really important for a lot of different ways, but one of the ways Dolores talked about in terms of her method, QHHT, and this rope burn was to leave that in the past. And that's what most practitioners do. And it is a very smart thing to leave the trauma in the past, to leave the challenges in the past. Now, there's some question about, completely disconnecting from these other aspects of yourself. In BQH, we actually say some of the wisdom, some of the learning, some of the skills, some of the knowledge, some of that you can absolutely integrate into your life right now. It's just another way that BQH and QHHT sort of, don't land on the same page that way. But leaving the trauma in the past, that's absolutely important. So some of this can be pretty common. I had a couple sessions recently that absolutely showed that. Both of them were clients who were women. Both of these sessions were online, and both of them showed redness in their skin as well. One experienced past life in a desert and was very, very hot and overheated. And her face, her entire body got really red and very visibly red. And even during the session, I helped give her suggestions to help dissipate that so that her own real physical body wasn't too taxed. But it just shows you how very real these experiences are for the physical form when you have a past life regression or a quantum healing hypnosis session or a BQH session. Another session I had recently had a woman eating a bite of food off of a banquet table in a past life. And when she ate that, something about that food disagreed with her. She was severely allergic to it, apparently, in that life. And it put her in bed very, very ill. And of course, I addressed it within the session and after the session as well. But it just goes to show you how real these sessions can affect your body. It's well known that people with multiple personalities can have different lab results. They can wear glasses in one life and maybe not in another. This is a fascinating way that our brains actually help create the physical realities and facts of our own physical bodies. And so the larger idea here, of course, is this is why this kind of exploration, you can hone in on the root cause of whatever challenge you might be going through and very possibly find it and release it or dissipate it or neutralize that energy at its source to benefit you in your own life. And of course, much of what's going on in our own life right now comes from our own life right now, from earlier in this particular life. And that is another way that quantum healing can assist for sure. Very often things happen in childhood, even very small things may not seem like big things to us as adults, but when we go talk to our inner child, ourselves as that person at that age, some things, some interactions, some experiences, and some trauma which seem minor to us now as adults can be very real and stored in our bodies as trauma responses that follow us throughout our whole life. So having a session will help you often find the absolute root cause of whatever it is that is challenging in your life today. Beyond quantum healing, QHHT, any of the quantum healing modalities can help you hone in, find the root cause, and release it, dissipate it, neutralize it, and bring you a happier, healthier life today. So look us up, quantumhealers.com. There are lots and lots of practitioners in your area speaking your language who are just right for you. Thanks so much for watching. Till next time. Bye for now.